Chris Dickerson's play on the course just might be as consistent as his camo attire or his preference for chicken for nearly every meal. But following one of his worst performances since breaking onto the disc golf professional scene, some went as far to wonder if the game's youth caught up to the Tennessee professional heading into the 2024 season. I'm Swiss Cheese with the Disc Golf World, the YouTube channel for all your fast-hitting disc golf news. And we got yet another Discmas video for the masses, where we will be releasing a video every single day with none of the usual challenge vids, putter brackets, mystery box openings, or the rest of that non-professional disc golf content till you guys open up your gifts this holiday season. A quick shout out to all those on the Patreon. Without you, this Discmas would not be possible. Another for all of you who pre-ordered Disc Golf World hats. Can't wait for you guys to represent those out on the course. And last, any of you guys who have returned from prior Discmas videos. Let's dive into yet another player profile, this one featuring the man who looks like the best pro to keep a secret, with probably the most recognizable fans on the entire tour, Discraft's own Robot Chicken, who despite the speculation heading into the season would go on to podium at 2 Elite Series stops, finish in the top 10 for nearly half of the Elite Series and major events he entered in, going 8 out of 17, only fell outside the top 20 twice on the season, shot an 18 under round in his home state, also a top 5 finish at a major, all the while handling what was thought to be a possible career-impacting injury. Dickerson would kick off the 2024 season with what would be his worst finish of the entire year, with a disappointing 28th place at the chess.com. 2 weeks later, and just 2 rounds at the first dgpt plus event of the season, Waco, Chris found himself outside the cash line in 48th place after only a 2 under at the newly implemented Laco, yet would respond with an 11 under day 3 at the Beast that found him move up 33 positions into the top 15 heading into that final day, and another double-digit 10 under on the final round that not only jumped him into the top 10, but 1 place off a top 5 with a 6th place finish, as it kicked off a top 10 run for Chris in 6 straight events in a row, including a podium mixed in there. Sure, the early chatter on the season surrounded AB and Gannon with 4 wins between them, though Chris quietly was right behind the 2 in DGPT points early on in the season. He accomplished that much like he did the rest of his career, relying on his controlled play, which has beaten competitors and fans like a melodrone since his breakout Prodigy days. Outside the rule bullies forcing him off that patented jump putt, what other part of his game has greatly changed? I really don't have that much time to wait, and if nothing has jumped out, proves my point exactly. It seems only the beard has gotten a little longer, and the fact that he's worked in some Tennessee Vol Orange into the wardrobe. It's that longevity of consistency that has fans seemingly always thinking he has had a down year whenever he doesn't win a major. Because Chris quietly gets back to work with his blue-collar approach to the game, and the stats back it. He was 4th in fairway hits on the season and knocking on the top 5 with the lowest OB rate. One of Dickerson's most underrated skills is just how exactly he dissects each course to his play, allowing the game plan to run itself through his meticulous form and routine. And then most importantly to his success is him rarely deviating from that plan no matter the scenario. Does it result in a lower birdie rate than some of the flashier names on tour? Yes, but also doesn't get himself in nearly the same amount of trouble as those either, finishing top 5 in the lowest bogey percentage and 3rd lowest on the tour in double bogey or greater percentage for the season, as his only questionable choice on the course might just be his friendship with Zach Melton. Jokes aside, his play might sneak up on the casual fan, but for the disgenerates, many took notice to Dickerson riding the wave of that solid start to the tour, only for them to be completely shocked by a midseason announcement. As unbeknownst to the community, those finishes all came while dealing with a hip injury on top of that, as a fall on a tee pad from all the way back in 2023's Tour Championship left him at what he said just 90% early in the 2024 season. And that was despite an entire offseason of rehab, as a suggestion made to him back at chess.com convinced Chris to receive an MRI in the middle of the season, simply to further address the injury concern or rule out something more serious. And prior to Music City opening in his home state, Dickerson posted on Instagram that he was told by doctors that his hip injury was actually a vascular necrosis, where blood flow was not getting to his hip properly, which also meant the likelihood of a full hip replacement in the distant future. And as shocking as that news was for disc golf, had to be even that much more difficult for Chris. I certainly couldn't imagine having an injury that could impact my career and beyond while still being one of the best performers on tour. While not at 100%, mind you, had to put a toll on him professionally and certainly his family. Through that troubling diagnosis and announcement, Dickerson would stoically go on to have his best Elite Series finish of the year, reaching his first podium on the season. Simon ran away with the event to become back-to-back MCO champion. That was despite the promise of a final day battle between a lingering goat in Macbeth and a superstar in the making Gannon, who were just 2 strokes behind. But the last on the lead card with far less attention despite that breaking news that week, Dickerson, in his first event since revealing his hip injury. Unshaken and undisturbed no matter the moment, Dickerson continued to attack the course like he always does, by following his game plan to a T through some of the most consistent play on the entire tour. Would finish the event in 3rd place after a 7 under, and would go on to follow that performance with 2 more top 10 finishes, including a 6th place finish at the first major of the year in Peoria at the Champions Cup. And better yet, Dickerson's injury prognosis would be far less than the initial severity, as he got some secondary consultations. With that all behind him and another return home for the Tennessee States, where he had yet another signature moment on the season, scoring an 18 under 1071 rated round, his 2nd highest on the year, onto his way to yet another Tennessee State victory. It's only like his 6th now. Only to kick overseas for the European Open, the 2nd major of the year, to tie the lead after day 1 and would finish in the top 5 there. Returned back to the States to seal his 2nd podium at the Ledgestone Open and what would be his highest payday on the year. And though he would never hit the top 10 on the remainder of the season, still did not fall outside the top 20 either, which resulted in a 9th place finish in the dgpt standings. Heading into the 2025 season, the final year of his 4-year contract, he will be looking to build on a solid 2024 performance. And where the schedule has lined up this season could see some first for the veteran also. Though Chris hasn't laid out his schedule plan with a major in California, could we actually see an extended West Coast swing out of the Dickersons, as they promised to never go to the Golden State? And who can forget another major and world championship overseas? Could we see him attending more stops than just Nokia next year? With him being in a contract year, it's all the more likely. And no disrespect to the West Coast, but I, for one, would love to see Dickerson carve those scenic European tracks. You can't tell me his game isn't suited for that style of disc golf. And if you still can't imagine it, rewatch that 2022 Champions Cup. Look, guys, if you've stayed this long and not subscribed, make sure to do so. And while you're at it, hit that like button and comment. And don't forget to return tomorrow for even more Disc Miss vids.
I don't know if it was because of criticism. I never saw it on anything that I saw. But Dickerson did address it, did address the ace, went really in depth on his anxiety and things of that nature, which I think is really bold. This is stuff that you see in other sports that you don't necessarily see in ours, and it's really exciting. You know what I mean? Because it kind of shows the depth of these are people, right? And this is what they have to deal with, along with touring, along with that. And you know what I mean? He kind of hit on his piece and what he was thinking and what was going on in his head. And the man was just so driven and focused on that front. That's where he kind of was, right? You know what I mean? So, big shout out to Dickerson, and probably like one of the least expecting players for me to assume a post like this.